Probably. Found out about the so I called up date and time.
Is he going to come by?
Is that young lady still staying? You meet a lot of people like that.
Yeah. It was just a really interesting discussion about it. For me, I wouldn't recognize as far as I'm unabashed in saying that this is a partnership. And I find it really almost intoxicating with
I know. We'll do it. We'll need it.
When you go to some of the schools,
you need help with timekeeping or anything?
This is fun again. It's nice to have
You had like one, something that said like 5 minutes. But
film school,
yeah. There you go.
yeah. That's what I tell people in the business. I say, send an email and follow up with a phone call. And you'll be more successful. Pauline takes notes. Focus.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming out today. Today's a very sad day. Something unexpected happened early this morning. A dear friend, Earl Grey Anderson, passed away at 4 a.m. this morning. Earl was the head of Southern California MUFON, and I wore this shirt in his honor today.
Yeah.
He was really the hunch, like the hunchback. He was a very well-known ufologist, but more than that, he was our friend. He was our friend. We loved him. I loved this guy. He died a bad death, and it's a sad day. So, I know a lot of you people here knew him quite well. Paul, if you'd like to stand and say a few words, maybe.
Sure. Earl Grey was my friend. First time I ever spoke in public was my father's memorial service, and I was terrified. When my family asked me to speak, I said, why do I have to do it? I thought I would cry, I might fall down and trip and make a fool of myself. And once I got up in front of everybody, I realized it didn't matter what I said if I had pithy remarks. They just wanted to see the love that a son had for his father. So it doesn't really matter what I say about Earl here. I just want to testify to my love for Earl. He was our friend. He was a huge part of our community. State director of MUFON. He held events in West Hills. He even coaxed my brother Joel to speak there one time. And for those of you who know Earl and his family history, his mom was amazing. Literally underground activities. And that's what set Earl on his path of discovery. Earl was a friend of the truth. He was an experiencer, unabashed, but also was very strenuous in tracking down the truth of experiences and not just believing anything. And after a prior HDA event, I think it was one where we spoke about Project Blue Book. Oh, come on in.
Hi, thank you. Sorry.
Earl and Sev Talk came to my house because they wanted to do DMT. Earl had that adventurous spirit, but of course, before he did, he called his wife Lisa to ask if it was okay, because he was a loving husband. And it was a lovely evening, and there's a picture that I sent around this morning of me taking a picture of Earl next to my father's portrait that Sev took behind me. And it was just a lovely, lovely evening. Earl Grey was my friend.
Anybody else like to stand for a minute and say a word or two? Stephen, would you like to say a word about Earl?
Yeah, quickly.
You can
I
stay.
didn't know.
You can stay where you are. If you
I
like.
didn't know him as well as many of you because I spent so much time on the East Coast. But I've been talking and dealing with MUFON all the way back to the 90s. And of course, through my good friend Ron James, who is now a very important part of MUFON. It's an organization with this incredible legacy. It goes all the way back to '69. It was created after the government destroyed NICAP, which was an outstanding entity that had very important people in it. It was led by well, that was in MUFON. NICAP was led by anyway, point is that they destroyed NICAP and then MUFON took its place, and then it's carried this ball for so long. The groups that did all the research, tens of thousands of studies, putting them in the archives, getting it out there, being this rock that's always there, letting the government know that we're going to keep studying this and studying this and studying this until you give in. And Earl, of course, was part of that for years and years. And this key chapter here, which has been important, particularly since the Los Angeles chapter came down. She's like a warrior. She's like a truth warrior, right? And if you're an activist, you need them. They're key, right? You can go and try to persuade the government to do something, but if you don't have people back there that are just pounding away, doing the work, doing the research, you can't go forward. And we're so close. I'll be talking about that a little bit later. We are really, really close, folks. And every time someone like this goes down, before we get this confirmation, it hurts me. Because they outlived us. They're trying to outlive us. Right? And we're just going to lie until you're all dead, and then we'll tell your grandkids the truth. So he didn't quite make it. But the thing was that, and he was better at it than me, and is that no matter what the ups and downs were over these years, he was nice. He stayed nice. He stayed kind. He would not let the issue and the abuses of secrecy make him angry. I need to work on that. And so I'll be thinking of Earl as we go forward this year, because I think we're getting disclosure this year. I'm sorry, I had to say that.
We're dedicating today's event, obviously, to Earl Grey Anderson and his wife, Lisa. I've been in touch with Lisa this morning. I told her, our community mourns with you as one. And she sent me back a little heart, so it's hard for me to do this right now, actually. 2 years ago, Steve Bassett and I became friends, and we co-created the HDA exactly 2 years ago. And then in November 2023 is when we officially launched. It's only been a year and a half. We have over 200 members today, about 205, 207 somewhere. And many of them are international. CJ Arabia, you're not here, are you? CJ is our social media guru. I wanted to thank her, but I think she had another commitment. Ron James, Sky, was Ron here?
He's on his way.
Tell him I said, Ron James, thank you for doing our HDA merchandise. That was very kind of him. Kathleen Rosenblatt, thank you for hosting the last event when I had COVID and I was dying. Mentally, I was projecting into your living room.
We enjoyed your presence.
But boy, was I sick. Serena Wright Taylor, thank you so much for giving us the HDA booth this year at Conscious Life Expo. Steve and I had a great time there. Thank you so very much. If you haven't heard about, my daughter and I launched something last month called the Wow Signal. Has anyone heard here? Okay, thank you. So I had this idea in my head. I've been a Hollywood publicist for 41 years, and I was like, there's no media resource really for ufologists. So I had this idea 2 years. My daughter and I created it a month ago. The wowsignal.news, the wowsignal.news. If you have news, a book, a film, a TV show, a lecture, an event, right? A scientific breakthrough, an experience, go there and you can post your news. And we have right now 700,000 emails. We're working on another million plus. I'm doing it A, to make money, hopefully, and give it to my daughter, but B, it's really a service for the community. Costa, thank you, brother. Costa's group, the People's Disclosure Movement, is one of our media partners, and we have an alliance. He promotes our newsletter, we promote his activities. So we're looking for partners. But it's only 6 weeks old, and I think it's pretty cool. Check it out, the wowsignal.news. The HDA has a new channel on YouTube that we launched recently. Where's Renee? Renee, thank you for your help. 5 of us in the HDA have our podcast. It's the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance channel on YouTube. 5 of us, myself, Renee, and some others, have shows. If anyone has a podcast they'd like to do or wants to move their podcast over to join us, please let me know. Oh boy, what else? Okay, shameless plug time. Have to do this. My book is now on audiobook. It took 1.5 years of torturous hell. Help support a struggling Beverly Hills publicist. Bye. After they came on audiobook. Thank you. Okay. Oh boy. We were going to do the trailer, but I don't think I can pull that off right now. Jeremy Norrie, my brother Jeremy right here. He's an HDA member. He and I are creating the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance documentary. It's called Inside Hollywood, Aliens, UFOs, and the Quest for Disclosure. He and I will be presenting it, world premiere, June 2nd at Contact in the Desert.
Yay.
And we have some, I don't know if it got you. I don't think it got you. I think Jeremy asked you, and I think you said no or something.
Oh, I'm really tough.
You're tough. But Paul, yeah, we can't get Paul. We have some, Danny Sheehan's in there, Britt Elder, Serena's in there, Linda Moulton Howe, Jimmy Church, Stephen. It's going to be pretty cool. And Jeremy, thank you so very much, brother, for doing that. And Jeremy's shooting this event for us today, right now. This will be a show on the HDA channel on YouTube in a few weeks, okay? So if anyone has to hide their face and not be on camera, tell Jeremy. Okay. Our first guest, our first lady of HDA. Oh, pretty lady! I knew I would do Jerry at some point. Lisa Puzo Strickland credits her inner voice for helping her navigate a 30-year career in the radio, record, and TV industries. Her search for understanding this intuition has taken her through studies in religion, psychology, philosophy, and spirituality. Upon shifting her focus to quantum physics, because Lisa's a genius and I'm a moron, Lisa began seeing exciting parallels between nature, science, and paradigm-altering life principles, which eventually led her to acquire a PhD in philosophy and parapsychology. Since then, she's expanded her horizons to be able to discuss psionics, AI, cryptocurrency, biomimicry. You should talk to Paul Hynek about cryptocurrency. My little friend.
We have an ongoing dialogue.
We do.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, see, I didn't even know that, so how about that? And the pending disclosure of non-human intelligence. Lisa sits on our board, our executive board for HDA, and she's on the board of directors as well. She'll be a guest speaker on a panel about psionics alongside Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell and Whitley Strieber at the upcoming Contact in the Desert conference, Nothing Serious. Lisa resides in Franklin, Tennessee with her husband and her children. She and I met right after we launched HDA at the end of 2023. And I can honestly say that I'm very proud to be well, she's one of my very best friends, and I think maybe I am too.
Yes, yes.
I love Lisa so very much. And yes, Lisa Puzo Strickland is related to Godfather author Mario Puzo. Puzo, right? Second cousin.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so now she's going to come up, and it's going to take an hour and a half to hook up a computer. But anyway, let's give her an applause. All right, Mitch. Oh, Mitch. Come on. Beautiful.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thank you, Mitch.
We love Mitch.
We love Mitch.
Can you all hear me okay?
Hey, Mitch. You know what, let's fix it. 1 second, can you come here, please?
What's that?
Can you raise the mic so it's up closer to mouths? Is that doable? Oh, there we go.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. So you can hear me, but I can't see you because I didn't wear my glasses. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you so much, Dan. I really appreciate it. And it's so nice to see so many friendly faces and familiar faces. And what a fun day. So today, I get to talk to you about the relationship between UAP and psionics. Not just about UAP and psionics individually, but the relationship between the two and the relationship with other organizations outside of UAP and psionics that have been made possible because of the relationship between the two. I know I just completely confused you. So basically what this is doing, because there is such a relationship between the two, it's creating this beautiful unity. And when you have anything united, you have this beautiful transference of information and of course the building of relationships, which is what this is all about. So keep in mind that word unity as we go through this very quick chat. I promised Dan I would keep this to a short, quick 12 minutes if I possibly can. Okay, so you all know what UAP is, so let's talk about what psionics really is. Psionics is this interchangeable buzzword that's going on right now, but we do need to clarify a couple of terms. First of all, para means beyond. So paranormal is anything beyond normal. You all know that. So we're talking intuition, missing time, seeing a ghost, levitation, an out-of-body experience, maybe even a near-death experience. Parapsychology is the study of paranormal, and psionics technically is the study of the paranormal using electronic means. Now, paranormal is often shorted with just the word psi, P-S-I, so that's why you have your psi and your onyx. And that is the true definition of psionics, even though we are using it interchangeably. So these days, when you hear the word psionics, it could actually mean the paranormal, such as intuition, precognitive dreams, telepathic communication, not just between ourselves, but also with NHI. And as we mentioned, some of the other paranormal activities and abilities. They all relate to a consciousness connection, both with ourselves and with NHI and UAP. So now that we kind of know what we're talking about, let's actually talk what we're supposed to be talking about, which is the relationship between UAP and psionics. And the first is discreditation. They have both been discredited for not just decades, but for centuries. We know it, we've seen the desensitization, we've seen the denial, the lies, all the things that have made the UAP and the parapsychology fields and people within those communities very angry. Now, if you look back, that's kind of the same thing that AI went through. AI was discredited. There was a time that we all thought, oh, there's no way AI is going to be self-learning, and it's certainly never going to take our jobs. But now look, it's been credited. And then same with digital currency. I'm sure Paul can attest to this. People are still thinking of it as fringe. There's still people ignoring it. And yet, most major financial institutions are adopting digital currency as a way to move money. So what once was discredited and denied is now being validated. It's being accepted. So it's really interesting what's happening. The second link between UAP and psionics, and I'm using the word psionics to refer to psi or paranormal, is propensity, or one's proneness or leanings. And what I mean by that is psi leanings can dictate a likelihood of having a UAP experience. So in other words, what I'm saying is, let's say you have the ability to see a ghost, or you can actually talk to dead people, or you have precognitive dreams. There's a lot of evidence right now in research showing that there's a link between people who can do that and then later see a UAP. It's like an open window and you feel the breeze over here to give you kind of an illusion of that. So if you have a leaning for one, you might have a leaning towards the other. This has to do with receptive intelligence, a lot of right brain thinking, also your embedded philosophies, your spiritual beliefs, your political beliefs, your ethical beliefs, but that is a much longer seminar, so I'll talk about that next time. How about that? And then the third link between UAP and psionics is correlation. Now this is the direct occurrence of psi or psionics during or after an experience. It's the psionics embedded within the UAP experience, such as an experiencer having a telepathic communication with an NHI, or having those precognitive perceptions, feeling missing or altered time, like Travis Walton in 1975. Levitation. Some people experience the meta view or the ultra view that Edgar Cayce felt, where you just all of a sudden have this bigger view of time and space, and you're better understanding your place in the universe. Again, this is related to a consciousness connection. Moving right along. I mentioned just a moment ago about telepathy within the UAP experience. And what is the resounding message that experiencers continue to report for decades that they are hearing from our NHI neighbors? And that is, be kind to one another and take much better care of our Earth. Of course, I think we're getting a lot of other messages as well, but that seems to be the biggie. So, number 4. This one I'm really excited about because this one really encapsulates unity beautifully. This is the multi-group involvement, or the confirmation of both UAP and psionics through a collaborative effort. We have the government involved, academia involved, various interest groups like NASA or Bigelow Aerospace. We've got us, the UAP groups. We've got the psi groups, such as the Parapsychological Association. And then, of course, we've got researchers that are using psionics, or psi, for UAP study. So let's dig into this a little bit more. The first multi-group involvement is us, UAP, and psi-centric organizations. We've got the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. We've got MUFON. Thank you, Earl. You're with us today. SCU, the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies. The Society for UAP Studies, also based right here in Los Angeles. International UFO Bureau, etc. And then on the parapsychological side, or psi-side, or paranormal, or parapsychological, we've got IONS, and we've got the Parapsychological Association. Norway's got this amazing Vasco project right now. And then there's the Saul Foundation out of Stanford, Galileo Project out of Harvard, and then the Archives of the Impossible out of Rice University are all studying both UAP and psionics. Secondly, we've got government agencies, not just the DoD and Congress and the Senate, but various other agencies within the government that are looking into UAP and psionics. They have for decades. Of course, they've denied all of that, but they're in it. And because it has to do with government, and I'm not the expert there, and Steve Bassett is, I'll leave all of that to him. Okay.
Not today.
Not today. Okay. In addition, I mentioned NASA and Bigelow Aerospace, and we've got Skinwalker Ranch. If you watch that show, it is definitely about UAP, obviously, and a lot of psionics in there. And the telepathy tapes I mentioned here, because of the telepathic communication that they highlight in that beautiful podcast, is very intrinsic to the telepathic communication that we are seeing with our beloved UAP experiencers. And then academia. This is a wild ride. They finally entered the UAP conversation. We've got Saul and Galileo and archives that I mentioned, but also in there is Stockholm University. The University of Edinburgh in Scotland has an entire institute called the Kessner Institute of Parapsychology. They deal specifically with parapsychology, but now they're talking a lot about UAP. And then, of course, UK's Durham University as well. And the specific disciplines that are getting involved, well, it's always been astrophysics and physics, but now there's immunology and pathology, biology. Parapsychology falls under psychology. And then you've got philosophy, sociology. Religious studies is really a hot topic right now. And when you have the psychology part of it and you've got the religious studies part of it, you're talking cognitivity and you're talking spirituality. Cognitivity and spirituality are joined at the hip when it comes to psionics. And then I mentioned to you psionics is being used for UAP studies. Now think about that. That makes perfect sense. We've got remote viewing, which can tell us where they are, what are they up to. We've got telepathic communication. Okay, what is it that you want to tell us? And meditation and intention, creates UAP activity. We can draw them to us. Just ask Jake Barber or Chris Bledsoe or Stephen Greer. And, I bet there's probably a few people in this room who could do that too. I want to talk to you. Okay, so recap, UAP and psionics, discreditation. We're overcoming that. Propensity is a leaning, the psi leaning. You might be prone to have a UAP experience, so there's hope for us all. Correlation is the embodied psionic experience within the UAP experience. And then, of course, the multi-group involvement, which is creating overall a beautiful sense of unity amongst all of the various groups that are involved. I asked you to keep the word unity in your mind, and that is because this collaborative and expanding effort of all of these multi-groups during the disclosure era, which is what we're in right now, is fostering such a spirit of unity within all of humankind. It's going to drip out of this room into the universities, into the government hallways, into the public and global psyche. And with this unity, don't you think that we're going to be able to enhance the interconnectedness between all of us? And equally as important, the ecological health of our planet. That's really important. So, to the request to be kind to one another and take better care of our earth, we can now, in the spirit of unity, answer, we are all listening. Thank you. Thank you so much. I would love to introduce a beautiful lady. I don't have my glasses. Wish me luck. I love Camille. I've not known Camille for very long, but what a heart of gold and what a beautiful person to be around. And you feel like you've known her forever. She's an experiencer. She's an actress, and she credits, and part of her credits include the Oscar-winning film Vice, and also the role of Mary Matlin in Shameless, and the Lifetime movie A Daughter's Deceit. In 1995, after moving to Los Angeles from New Orleans, Camille, you use the word, your last name here, Harman, but we call you Camille, had her first UFO experience right here in Silver Lake. And abduction experiences followed more and more after that. She underwent hypnosis with Barbara Lamb and our own Yvonne Smith, which revealed experiences with non-human intelligence. humans, and positive light beings of pure love. In 1998, a month after visiting crop circles, she met her husband, astrologer and experiencer Jeff Harman, at a gas station in Malibu. That's pretty cool. Did he pay for your gas? Yeah, gotta work on that. She has also written for UFO magazine from 2000 to 2004. And ladies and gentlemen, Camille James Harman.
Hi, everybody. All right, let's see here. This is the one that works. Let's stretch. I don't want them to see my screen. Hold on, let me just get my things. Okay. All right.
Dan, you still have your adapter?
Yeah.
I need that one number.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yes. Man of the hour, folks, Dan Harary. Give him a round of applause.
You're connecting everything, people and things.
Apparently. It's only I could connect with my mother. It'd be a whole another thing.
Wow. Too close to Mother's Day.
It's enough.
Do I really need to see my main screen?
Enough already.
It's enough already.
I had that, this down, and no, share, no. Now it's saying just now. How did this
Go back, look at all one master.
I don't like the I just want to see my message. Now I can get in it again? I can do it without slides if we have to, but hopefully I'm. I also have a USB in my bag, like you put in somebody else's computer. Whatever you want. You want to try that one again? No, I don't have the right job. You can try it. He's giving me this eject. Maybe I just shouldn't eject. Should I try it? Should I pull it up? See what happens? I'm going to eject the one that's there, which was my old one. Now maybe I'm allowed to switch. Okay, should I try it? You want my USB? Somebody else?
That might be helpful.
It's my backup.
Alright, we may have to use my USB.
I'm trying to figure it out. It's not working. It's showing a driver for this, but it's not letting me connect to it.
Somebody else?
Go ahead and click that. We will have to give it a try. Try this one. We'll love to see them maybe next year.
It's recorded, so
Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Does anyone have questions about our high-tech HDA group? Our cutting-edge technology that we're using? Who's going to be a contact in the desert?
You can ask them if someone's willing to.
Anybody going to be
Every
there?
single one.
You've been to every single
It's a
one?
vendor.
Is there a computer someone else has that I could put my little stick
I have a
in?
PC if you want.
Maybe I can move?
I have a PC with HDMI connection.
Okay, whatever would work, Paul, thank you, because mine's being difficult and I did make a backup.
Shut it down and open it up again.
Right.
Questions for Steve Bassett? I'm going to throw it out. Who has questions for Stephen, my brother Bassett? Raise your hand. Oh, come on.
Any question?
Any questions? Who shot JFK? Anyone? Anyone? Kathleen.
Dan, how are you succeeding in pulling in some of the Hollywood industry people, you know, that have been interested underground for years, but now you have we were set up. What is happening?
I would say striking out with all the big famous people.
By the time we
Every
met
single
at a
one.
gas station,
Completely
anyone else
striking
would be
out.
like,
Just need one. We're gonna get one.
and why is that?
They don't respond. Although
Thanks for your
Spielberg's
patience,
people
everybody.
said thank you, but no thank you. But we have a lot of documentarians. The group that is coming to us are the documentary.
Yay.
people.
Thank you all for your patience.
Yay, Paul to the rescue.
Don't look at Paul's screens. Top secret.
Uh-oh, virus.
1/10 of a Bitcoin transferred to his account later. Yeah, I shows you what I know about Bitcoin. I missed it. I missed the whole crypto thing. I was out playing with dodgeball.
Just have a bit.
When the woman you always you want to I show something to you. You're talking to me.
There it is.
Yay.
Equipment problems giving me
Thank
anxiety.
you, Paul. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Okay. So, what a story. I'm going to tell it quickly as best I can. And so, all those things you guys already heard about me. Hold on, I'm working on this. My story began in New Orleans. Woohoo! Party town! I'm from Louisiana. I was in grad school at the time. This kind of began 1994. I graduated with my MFA from the University of New Orleans. And I was going to Mardi Gras parties and just having a good old time being an actress. My boyfriend there, Eric, and I did Richard III. We thought we were hot stuff. We decided to move to LA. He was Richard, I was Lady Anne. We're like, we're out of here, right? So we moved to LA, but right before we hit the road, oops, why is it doing that? Come on, all right, I'll use this. No, it's just the arrow.
Spacebar?
Ah!
To the rescue. Paul.
Paul, what am I doing? This?
Basically.
That thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So I read this book right before we left town. I was compelled to buy this book. I was in the bookstore. I'd never read an alien book before. I saw this book and it just said, buy me. And so I'm one of those. I'm one of the many people that Whitley has had tell him, you know, I was compelled to buy your book. And this book really blew my mind. So I was into aliens in August of '95 when we moved away in September of '95. So we got to LA and we had this great, I did it again.
Spacebar.
Spacebar. Spacebar. Oh my God. I'm such a spaz. Okay, sorry. It's not forward. That. Damn. Is it this? I promise not to. That's what I was. Okay. So what did you do? You hit the big one?
I hit this.
You hit this? One.
Proving why
Okay.
we need the alien technology as quickly as possible.
Anyway, so this was our house in Silver Lake that we chose, and I remember telling the landlord, it has great views for seeing UFOs. Little did I know. So one day, we were walking the dog, our dog Opal, and she saw a squirrel go up a tree and was barking hysterically at this palm tree because the squirrels were up there. And that's when I saw my first UFO. It was a daylight sighting with Eric. And it was all because of the squirrel and my dog. And we looked up, and it was like black, but really, really high. I couldn't make out the shape really well. It had a kind of a plasma around it. Now I know what that's called, but it, like a shimmer around the blackness. And it wasn't moving, and we had the tree for scale. So I handed him the leash, and I ran home, and I said, I'm going to report it. And I looked up in the phone book, and they actually had a number for MUFON. So I called MUFON, and they said, we have these meetings at the Pickwick Center in Burbank if you want to come. And I started going to the meetings. But also at this time, in December, I noticed that having lived in LA a few months now, I didn't have any menstrual cycles since I got to LA. And I was having a lot of anxiety and just weirdness and like pregnancy symptoms, but I was on the pill at the time. And you would think, like normally if I was ever late on my menstrual cycle, I would just go get a pregnancy test at the drugstore and take it. But for some reason I didn't do that. I just kept waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And then in December, I had this attack of sleep paralysis in the night. Hey, don't jump ahead. Anyway, you jumped ahead. So, in this attack of sleep paralysis, I also, at the same time, heard a voice call my name in my ear, a mechanical sounding voice, like an AI generated or computer sounding voice. Just said, Camille. And totally freaked me out. I'm in this paralyzed state. And I saw a gun pointed at me, like a flash of a gun pointed at me, which was very terrifying because I'd had sleep paralysis before, but I'd never had it with any kind of hallucinations of the audio or visual kind. So when I met Barbara Lamb at the Pickwick Center, the MUFON meeting, I said, I really want to schedule a regression with you, and I want to target this night. I had the sleep paralysis attack in December of 1995. And by the way, my period had come back in January. So we did a regression, and I had the full-on alien, whatever they are, NHI creatures that take babies out of people experience. And it was terrifying. I was taken through my ceiling in a bluish beam of light. I was curled into a fetal position. I opened up. It was misty white light. I'm on a table. And I'm so terrified I can't even look around. Barbara had to make me look around. There were beings to my left that looked like this. And they all looked alike. They had long arms, big black eyes. Everything was very misty white light. They seemed to have some kind of emblem at their chest area. And then another being I could not see. I was blocked from seeing. Took an instrument. I saw a flash of this speculum type thing, like an egg whisk, and put it in me and took it out. And, you know, the whole time these beings are just saying, it's okay, relax, relax. Very rudimentary communication telepathically happening. And this being took this little fetus out of me and left the room. And I was just you know, bereft and screaming and crying. They didn't even let me see it. And there was crying, all this horror. And I go home to my poor boyfriend with this little cassette from Barbara Lamb. And I'm like, you gotta hear this. And he didn't, I mean, it's the most horrible thing for your loved one to hear. I'm just saying, because they know that you'll never be the same. And it's like, if this is real, it's really awful. And if it's not real, it's really awful. Because, like, then you're crazy or you're deluded. So either way, it's really awful. And yet it answered so much. So, you know, I told my family. I was like the straight A student, you know, the smart one. They had all these high hopes. And my mom was like, why can't you be gay? Your brother is gay. I know how to do gay. I don't know how to
And,
Reasonable response, yeah.
Yes.
Again, this thing, hold on. There, okay, and other things happened. Like I woke up with this shoulder incision after a dream of being bitten by a spider. And I would have this feeling like something was stinging me on the back of my shoulder, like a bee. And then a jolt of electricity would run down my arm. And I thought, well, that's very weird. And it would happen over and over. I had another weird thing on my other shoulder, this grid pattern. I don't remember how I got that. Don't remember a dream or anything. My boyfriend just saw it on my shoulder and took a picture of it. And then he went out of town to go film something back in New Orleans, and I was sleeping alone for a week. And I got up 3 mornings in a row in July of '96 at 4 in the morning for no reason with the digital clock, you know, before cell phones. And looking at the clock going, I didn't hear a noise. I don't know why I'm waking up at 4:00 every day. So the third morning, I was going to see my friend at the beach, so I was shaving, and this happened. Oops. Okay, I had a triangle on my leg. I had a triangle that looked like this. I lost my photograph, but this is my friend Christian's photograph of one he had on his wrist, which I've met many people who've had this triangle on their body on different parts. So I knew that was an alien thing. I just knew it. You know, I was like, I saw this in a video or on a book or something. And so this time I made an appointment with Yvonne Smith for the first time because she was the other therapist who did this. And I had a really great session with her. And this time I went in the beam of light out the window and into this room with the beings. And I had the tall one working on me, the doctor being, and 3 little ones with wrinkly heads. They were like gray or brown. All I saw was the tops of their heads, but they repulsed me. And one of them started stroking me on my forehead, and I was cussing at it, and all my anger went away. And I just said, okay, do what you got to do and let me go home. I did send a picture of this to Roger Lear, by the way, and he said, yeah, you're probably high probability of aliens. But here's the drawing I did. The doctor being had a wand that came from the ceiling and tips that he picked a tip and put it on the wand. And at one point in my memory, he morphed into a mantis, a praying mantis, and I started screaming. He looks like a praying mantis. He has praying mantis arms. So I don't really know what it was, and that's the thing about these beings is you don't know if you're dealing with their true form or if it's some archetype or it's a real being that can just, like you don't know if it's your brain or your memory or the beings themselves, but it's very tricky sometimes. The next thing that happened was my dentist found something weird in my tooth. He had changed all my fillings out and they were lovely and white, and went back and I said, I love my fillings, Beverly Hills dentist, but there's one that really hurts. It's like sensitive to everything. And so he redid my filling, and I had told him, if you ever find anything weird in my body, you have to tell me. And he was like, okay. And he found something weird in my body. He dug out this brand new filling and he found this spherical object in my tooth, and he said, that was not there before. And I'm going to redo your filling, but I don't know what that is. And it's very hard, and I'm drilling. He showed it to me with the mirror. So I have a letter from my dentist about it. I did a regression with Barbara Lamb on this one. And I thought I was going to get aliens, right? But no. So I'm working with Barbara, and I come to on a table in an exam room. No light, no nothing. I don't know how I got to this exam room. But there were 2 guys in there with lab coats and khaki pants, and they called me a troublemaker. I felt very drugged. When I was with the aliens, I felt like hyper alert, but with these guys, I felt drugged. And they took a syringe and squirted something through my jaw through my cheek into my tooth that way, not like a dentist. That's the memory I had anyway. And then they put me on a gurney and rolled me down a hall to a hangar where there was a black helicopter. The ceiling retracted, and we flew up into the very bright sky. It was daylight, and they brought me home to my house in Silver Lake to a field and said, go home and take a nap. And that's all I remember. So when I came out of that memory, I was so angry. I mean, I have never experienced the paranoia and the anger of what's called a military abduction or a MILAB. The betrayal and the confusion and terror of thinking, if this is true and this is how this happened, And I didn't remember that until now. Then what the hell else has happened to me that I don't remember that's affecting me on a subconscious level? And that's where your brain goes. Then I started saying things like, oh, humans this, humans that, and I started catching myself talking like that. And I asked Barbara, why am I aligning with something that's not human, that I don't remember? Can we target that? Can we do a hypnosis for that? And she said, sure. So she puts me under, and I have this full-on, incredibly beautiful out-of-body experience that came out of nowhere. Started out, I felt really claustrophobic in my body, and I was screaming, I don't want to be here in this body. It's so weak. It's so, I just felt like someone was stuffing a sofa into a pillowcase. And she said, well, go to when you felt happy or powerful or whatever. And I popped out in space, and I was a blue orb. And I was with my friends who were blue orbs in this void. And I was weeping with recognition of my friends. And I didn't want to go to Earth. It was like being on a diving board and going, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. And she said, well, why do you have to go? And I said, I don't know. And she said, well, ask. And these white light beings appear. These beings that were bigger and white and pure love. And I saw them, and I was just like, oh God, they're my home, they're my family. And I'm like melding with them. I don't know what they are. I don't know if they're angels. I don't know what they are, but they're my people. And they said, you have to go to Earth to fight evil. And I was like, holy crap, okay, seriously? Really? What does that mean? And they said, tell people we exist and we love them. And they gave me this image of sending love. And I was one of them, and we were sending love and from some point in the universe, and people were walking around with umbrellas, and we couldn't reach them. And I was crying, and I was saying, that's why I have a white bathrobe. And that's why I dressed my boyfriend as Lawrence of Arabia for Halloween, because I missed my white robes and you with the white robes. And it was very ecstatic. And they said I had to do it through acting. I was like, seriously? And they said, yeah, we'll set it up so that you meet people and make projects worthy of your time. And the very next film I did was about an angelic encounter. That was kind of cool. Oh my gosh, dang. Okay, hold on. Why does it work sometimes and then not others?
Gremlins.
How did you get rid of the Why? I mean, it's like this white box comes up. Okay, so anyway, at the time oh, you're pushing the other side and then it goes away. Okay, so I did do some fun things like go to the Roswell 50th anniversary event in '97 with Don Waldrop, who used to run MUFON LA. And he had a good camera, so on the way back, he made me go up into white sands in the dunes, and I drew a big alien face with my foot. And I was screaming at the sky, and I was like, I dare you to come down here, you bastards! And I'm just screwing around, and he's taking pictures. And later, when we got the pictures back, there were these white anomalies right where I was screaming. So something was in the picture, which was kind of neat.
Psionics.
Psionics. It's doing it again. Why? I mean, I'm hovering over it. Why am I doing
There,
it?
you got it.
Okay. And I also went to England to see the crop circles. Okay. So I had a thing about Sting. I was obsessed, like stalker level Sting fan. And I was adopted on Sting's birthday, which is really weird. But so I knew Sting lived in Wiltshire by the crop circles and Stonehenge and all that. So I went to England. I saw Sting standing in his driveway at his house. Okay, I was so embarrassed. I couldn't even speak. But anyway, Barbara Lamb picked me up the next day, and she said, we're going to your first crop circle. It just happened last night. So we went to this crop circle, and it was called the Stingray. They nicknamed it later from the aerial photo, and we didn't know at the time when we were walking in it. But I think that was made just for me. Psionics! So there's me in another crop circle. So I had a fling with that guy in the background. And a black Ferrari, and we were driving around, getting bottomed out, pulling over to look at
TMI, Camille, TMI.
But I came home to my poor boyfriend, and we broke up. And he was happy. And at the same time, too, I was wondering, is this a lifelong thing? Because as a kid, let me look at the indicators. So one thing as a kid, I had the bad nosebleeds as a kid, like really bad, and I had to have my nose cauterized. And come to find out, that's a thing. That's like an abduction symptom of having them put stuff up your nose. I also had paranormal fears as a kid. I had some trauma, childhood trauma. I was adopted. I had, some sex abuse, all kinds of trauma. And I was afraid of things like the creature from the Black Lagoon and the slee stacks from the Land of the Lost. Those just terrified me. And they kind of look like reptilians, so maybe, that's another indicator. And then I looked at my family, like, is it in my, when you're an experiencer, you go, why me? Is it my DNA? Is it my, what is it? What is it about me that made them want to work on me? And so I have an uncle, Uncle Jack, who's passed away, but he worked for NASA under Wernher von Braun as a mechanical engineer in Huntsville his whole career, and also out here at Rocketdyne. And so I called Uncle Jack, of course, and I said, Uncle Jack, you got to tell me, what the hell? And I'm your niece, And he said, I don't know anything, and if it's true, it's NSA, and they're never going to tell you, and you need to get over it. And so he's my maternal uncle. These are my moms. This lady on the bottom is my birth mom, and the one above is my aunt who adopted me. So I lived with Uncle Jack when I was a child, when I was a toddler, for a year. And his family, and he didn't adopt me. I guess I was too crazy. No, I was a very sick child. I had a lot of allergies. So I got passed around a little bit. But I wonder if I got put in a program by living with him and going to the base, NASA doctors. And this is how my brain works. These are the kinds of things you wonder. And but he's very sweet. And his daughter, my cousin Lisa, is one of the payload managers of the space station. So moving on. Later on, I met my husband, Jeff Harman, at the gas station in Malibu, and we started talking because of my I Love England bumper sticker that I just put on my car after coming back from England. So he's an astrologer, and he explained to me, your astrology at this time was very indicative of abduction. You had Saturn in the 12th, you had progressed moon in the 12th. Those are like when you have major psychological revelations. I said, oh, that's good to know. So next thing, where is the switch on? Okay, I wrote for UFO Magazine, and it was really fun because I got to meet all the big names. I covered the MUFON meetings. I did a lot of other things for UFO Magazine. I was doing interviews also and documentaries. I was very out of the closet. I got interviewed by the LA Times with John Mack. And then we moved to Tucson, which was beautiful, and there was a lot of UFO activity there and researchers there. And so I had a lot of sightings. So my mom and I were on a trip, and we took this picture of a mountainside. And then when we zoomed in, we saw this later on and said, oh, what a catch. So we got this little UFO in that picture. And then in 2013, I had a born-again Jesus experience and dropped out of ufology and went to Latin Mass. That's what happened. And my husband was like, holy cow, this is bad for business. And he's like, how are you going to be my astrology secretary and help me run the business when you're going to Latin Mass and it's against your religion now? And it was really rough. And I still love the Mass. I'm not a good Catholic. There are many things I learned. I love their mystics and their nuns and people who've had amazing mystical experiences. So it's been a great addition to my repertoire of knowledge of psionics. And then we moved back to LA and my acting career took off again, and I was in Vice and I got to hang out with Christian Bale, and it was really, really fun. And now I can say I was in an Oscar-winning film, and I played Mary Madeline, who's from New Orleans, and she wrote me a letter the day after the Oscars. I got it. That was cool. Then I got into Tartaria research, which made me question everything about history, the narratives, the controllers who control our story. Have we had resets in the past? Are we having, repopulation events and depopulation events? And it just made me very open-minded again. I kind of got out of my Catholicism bubble. And I went to the UFO Congress, and it was around Halloween, so we dressed up, and I was back in. I was like, I'm back in. And that's also that's also around the time I met Earl, because I met Earl at a premiere of Moment of Contact right when I got back from that event. Oh my God, this thing. Come on, I'm trying to hurry. So there's Earl. And he was so sweet and kind to me.
That's the music center.
Okay. Now, I was at church. This is the end of my talk. I was at church and I made this prayer because I got invited to speak at UFO Con in 2023, and I was nervous about going back in publicly, having been a total Jesus freak for years, and worried because I thought aliens were demonic. For like 9 years, I just totally dropped out, and I had missed out on so much new research. But anyway, I was at church and I prayed, Jesus. I was under a tent at church. I said, Jesus, if you are working with any good beings in the UFOs, would you please give me a sign, because I don't want to make you mad. I want to go back into the subject, but I don't want to make you mad. So, here's my video. I'm going to play. Hopefully it works.
It's working.
If you look at the top of my video, you will see shortly 4 light orbs
Oh my God, look.
zipping around in the sky. I tried to zoom in and get a better shot. I was self-conscious. There were people behind me watching me film, and it was during the Agnus Day. It was very effective. But there they are. And so that I got my few little seconds, and then I met Chris Bledsoe, like a week or two later, and he looked at my video and he said, "Camille, those were your angels. Wow. They've been with you since you were a kid, and it's okay." And I was like, oh. So I just try to stay really positive. This is really the end of my talk. So many wonderful synchronicities have happened with people that keep me in this. I haven't made up my mind about things, but I love, love, love researching it, even if it's scary, because the really good experiences like the synchronicities and the people and the OBE, that was so worth all the scary stuff on the table. And I just try to stay positive. And so I'm back in. I love it. I'm out of the closet, flying my freak flag, and doing shows.
And you're not even gay.
And I'm not even gay. And I'm, whatever I am. But thank you for listening and putting up with the technical thing. And thank you for your computer. And that's it, really. So, I'll let you work on this while I introduce our next speaker. Thank you so much. So our next speaker is Christina Engelhardt. And she's a lovely, lovely person that I have met through this group. We share a love of the mysterious. We share a love of film. Christina Engelhardt is an LA-based screenwriter, author, producer, astrologer, like my hubby, psychic, and artist. A former international model and actress, she currently assists with operations at Fleischer Studios, Inc., including their Broadway musical Boop, and is involved in upcoming film projects. For 12 years, Christina was a muse to Federico Fellini, hello, documenting their experiences in her award-winning film and book, Towards the Moon with Fellini, which is amazing. I've read it. Her book, described as an inspiring and suspenseful supernatural epic, offers an intimate view of Fellini's final adventures, including their encounter with shaman Carlos Castaneda among the Mayan ruins and the revelation of an interdimensional entity named You. Christina's life includes profound experiences with shamans, astrologers, and philosophers, and she continues to explore intergalactic communication through film and print. She is thrilled to share her stories with the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, a group dedicated to exploring the mysteries of the universe and the self. Christina!
A moment. Wow, that was wonderful, Camille. I have my and then here is your okay, now let's get it. Testing. I just love that we're all here together. I just feel like home, and I'm listening. Camille, your story was like, oh my God, you said so many things. I'm like, yes, yes, yes.
Oh my gosh.
I love it. All right.
Thanks, Mitch.
All right. Okay, I want to get, well, so let's see if I can get out of the cheat sheet on the side. Oh, I'm not going to try to get too
If
complicated.
you click
Just wanna-
slideshow, it'll go to the first, up at the top, click slideshow.
Yes, thank you. Yes, right there, and from the beginning. Thank you.
Uh-oh.
I would say,
That's not my computer.
say okay.
I don't know why it's doing that. Let's see if I can get down the computer on this. That's not for me, because I don't have that.
You got it. I'm out.
I can just go to the array with
Oh, thank you, my darling. Isn't that great, my daughter?
She's nice.
She's the love of my life. I did one thing right in my life. My son, not so much.
Whoa.
Gotta send him love and light.
Says your mom, right? Enough already with the aliens.
Danny, it's enough with the aliens already.
There you go.
All right.
Yay.
Mitch, yay, Mitch.
So I just have my little cheat sheet so I stay on target. Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Thank
Christina.
you. Thank you all. Thank you all. So, of course, we're going to all have our thoughts and our memories of Earl, because even though I met him twice, I just thought this is a special person. So I'm glad that he's with us in every sense. He would want us to be continuing on and so forth. And, you know, I want to take you guys on a journey. My journey is obviously, it started very young in my life. So if I do just a rendition from the script, but we can speak from our hearts. We don't need a script when you've lived it. So I've always felt a connection to something. It's been since my childhood. I come from a line of psychics. My grandmother was a psychic, her grandmother, and so forth. And I've just lived that my whole life. And then I came to a point where when I was a teenager, I met this lady. Whoop, I see it online, but I don't see it here. Hold on. Why are we stuck? Okay. Now I see it here.
Goes to the next slide.
Let's see, why are we not?
Try hitting the space bar.
I've been doing that. See, it's stuck on this one.
Is it presenter view?
It's in you have this, so I want to move. So I'm just trying to go on to the next. I've been doing the space.
Mitch is big.
I just want to do space because
Yeah, we're happy with this.
I'm scrying.
I love it.
Not a bad slide.
If I was a house
or from here, either way. Yeah, that's just as good.
No, I do that.
Just
X that off. Yeah.
Security.
He didn't mind it before when we had all the others attached.
This is why publicists go bald.
Get out of the slideshow.
I think you need to hold time.
Security.
There we go. And we're off. You're a conspiracy fan. You can use that.
I'll just click on it. Yes,
Yeah, they go down a little bit like your sister.
My sister.
Yeah, right here.
Let's go back to
Your sister's eyes go down like hers.
just a regular.
Remember they got the table with his crystals on it and they had reading all like.
All right. So, obviously, my childhood was already very much filled, and as a young person in the forest, I was already feeling some presence around me. I always felt that, because especially since I had it in my lineage, I already started doing tarot and astrology. By 10 years old, I just went up to everyone and offered that as a way that I felt that I had this ability to. It was very easy for me to be intuitive and psychic, left-handed, right brain, and such. But then I met this lady, Jerry DeMarlo, born 1919, and she was a professional astrologer. So she was a huge teacher in me. And of course, what I'm about to tell you is not fiction. It's my life lived, and I've had other people who've witnessed this alongside me. Jerry DeMarlo, she was the one, after many years of us exchanging, I taught her tarot, she taught me astrology. She was at one point in the summer of 1984, she said, "You've got to get out of Los Angeles. You've got to go to, you've got to get out of New York City. You have to go to Los Angeles. You have to be there on October 20th because you're going to meet a famous Italian director. You're going to move to Rome and you're going to hear voices from outer space." And because she'd never been wrong and prophesized, I literally, within 2 weeks, gave my apartment up, gave everything away, loaded up a car, and drove. And on October 20th, the phone rang, and it was someone said, "You don't like me, I don't like you, but I have to go to this dinner with an Italian director, and I cannot go alone. And will you come with me?" She did not know what I know, and I said yes, and that's how I met Federico Fellini.
Wow.
And so, talk about that moment. That was a big connection for us. And Federico was just super amazing. Now, I'm going to only work from my script because it just keeps me, I will jump all over the place, I know myself. So of course I followed Jerry's instructions, as always, on that exact same date, October 20th. And yes, Federico, he's a legendary master of film, cinematic, and surrealism. One thing we all know as a director, he could see the abstract, and he was also a fellow dreamer. A kindred spirits. And in all my years of getting to know him, we did Towards the Moon with Fellini, Verso la Luna, so we did several movies together, and he was on this ride with us. So these are just some book covers that I've accomplished. Now, Federico and a group of his entourage, they had gone to Los Angeles. Why we met in Los Angeles? They had come from Rome because he wanted to do a series of films about Carlos Castaneda. He had been obsessed with Carlos. He read all his books. By the way, so did I, on my own separate spiritual awakening. And in his coming to Los Angeles, things started getting strange. He started receiving phone calls. Things started moving around the room. He felt very like something was positioning, and he had enormous amount of psychic phenomena in his life. And he and a group, including myself, we decided we had to go to the Yucatan to meet Carlos Castaneda, because we thought this was Carlos Castaneda, Don Juan, trying to do some kind of tricking with us to make this unusual, strange phenomena happen. And this is a quote of his in one of his letters to me. I'm still a bit shaken and confused of this extraordinary and mysterious experience, and your image is the most concrete, the most relaxing, the most solar. And for me, that was so important, because once we had our experience, once we went to the Yucatan, which I will go on further, it just so shows you that this is where I came from. When I was growing up in this forest, that was our house, we were isolated, to say the least. It was me and my dog, and that was it. But while I lived there, I was constantly feeling that when I'd go to sleep at night, something was pressing up against me, the room. I felt that if I was ever taken or moved in some place, that was the time. And this was on a regular basis that I was, but then again, I was doing tarot, astrology. I thought, okay, I've awakened some kind of spirit. And it started with this lady, because this is my grandmother, who was a psychic, and her grandmother was her psychic. So between my grandmother, Felicita, and Jerry DeMarlo, those were such important teachers. Now, by the time I'm in high school, I have this face with big eyes, shape-shifting. So in high school, I was in art class, and I was good at painting, but this was the painting I was just constantly obsessed with. And lo and behold, this is what showed up later on multiple times. The big eyes, the face churning colors, and of course, this is almost how I see the world ending and what's coming to our rescue. So this is obviously in the 70s that I drew this picture. So I just felt like we are getting a communication. I'm supposed to move some energy forward. I'm supposed to communicate. And of course, speaking of a Hollywood disclosure, this was our Hollywood disclosure. Federico, the 5 of us, and you see there's a telephone down below. The one thing that we found so unusual is that this entity, now, it showed us in lights in the sky, so I know, was it a light, an orb, was it a spaceship? They communicated through the telephone, and in their communication, they said we should call them you, and that they were never born or never died. And I think when they said that, they were referring to that they were never born and died maybe on this consciousness. So they are from some other, I always felt, dimensional beings, because they could move in and out of a room, they could make any of us say things, or one of the things that happened to me a lot would be, I would just feel paralyzed, and I could feel them touching and pushing on me. And they would go into my third eye, like even if I had my eyes closed, I could see their faces. And they had like that drawing, like this creature here, those big eyes. And I just felt, and they always said, be calm, we're here. One of the things they were able to do is call on the telephone. Now, this is before cell phones. So if I literally was walking and a phone rang, I picked it up, it was them. What is this voice? Imagine you pick up a phone and you hear the static like a walkie-talkie. So that shh, this metallic voice saying your name, whatever language, because they spoke different languages to different people. And they gave me commands, where to be, what to do, and who to talk to and what to say. And that went on for years. So I was getting, at least 1 to 2 phone calls a day. And imagine this went on for 9 years. So I thought, oh, I'm losing my mind, but one of the things they had wanted, especially for me, is that I and this entourage of Fellini, because as we went to meet Castaneda, and we told him all this, he flips out. He says, I want nothing to do with this. I don't know what you're involved. This is not me. And he literally abandoned us in the jungle, because he sent us on a wild goose chase into the jungles of Tulum. So we are coming back from Rome, and we realized, okay, so these voices, they're not Carlos. And Federico said, there goes my movie. That was what I wanted. But the voices kept saying, no, there is a project. And they kept referring to music and to colors and to mathematical equations. And they gave us colors as names. Federico was green, I was pink, Andrea De Carlo was blue, Mauricio Grimaldi was orange, then we had Tullio Pinelli was violet, and then we had just a variety of colors, and this was the group, and they wanted a film from us. Of course, what kind of film? Federico was like, if I tell this kind of film, they're going to think I'm crazy. Of course, his last movie was The Voice of the Moon, so we tried to interject that. But before that happened, Federico, would say to me, because we did a graphic novel, he figured if we do this in a graphic novel form, I'm free to tell the story, nobody's going to object to it, and I can control the situation. And very much, that's who Federico was. He was a known puppet master in controlling his actors, and he loved to draw. So for him, drawing was very important. So, of course, we're on the movie set. We are not doing a Castaneda story. And of course, as you know, here is one of the only images we know of Carlos. What we were is, because we used the trip to Tulum, we used that as a storyboard. We had Carlos Castaneda as an imagery, sort of as a shaman in the story, but it was about this voice. Now, this is a graphic novel, very hard to find. It's out of publication, but it was, again, what Milo Manada and Federico were trying to say, okay, let's tell this story following this woman, myself, into this imagination. So, the storyboard of the movie is actually this. It's beautifully done. And it was my homage from and for Federico to bring this story eventually back to the United States to make a movie out of it. Okay, so the voices, they were very much behind that we tell their story. And as I said, it was about music, sound, vibration, because that was the one thing I felt, that's how they are trying to reach us. I think that when they appeared, they are so intimidating that it's better that they stay on the side. And and every so often they'd call me and they'd say, look up at the sky, and then these lights would start, high as a plane, would just start zigzagging and then disappear. So that was letting me know we're kind of here and above. And in their many phone calls, they always told me what to do. And here's one of the things that was quite interesting. They would say, we want you to be in front of, they would say, be in front of Cafe Greco at midnight on this date. Now that was 2-3 weeks ahead, and I'm thinking, Cafe Greco, the only Cafe Greco is in Rome. I have to go to Rome. And then I'd say, well, how am I going to get the money to do this? Ding dong, my doorbell rings, nobody's there, there's a shoebox filled with money. I'm like, what? Oh, there's my airline ticket. This would happen all the time. So this was crazy. So, I'm now in Rome, it's midnight, I'm standing on the streets in front of Cafe Greco, and I'm thinking, okay, there's spaceship's gonna come and take me away. And off to the distance, I see someone all of a sudden, exactly at that moment, turn the street and start coming towards me. It's the blue one. So I'm sure that he got a contact to meet me here. And when he saw me, he was like, what are you doing here? He was just terrified. He was supposed to be the writer of this story through Federico. And the more I told him, the more he rejected. And again, probably like a lot of people thought that Christina, Castaneda, and that this is all a mastermind of Castaneda. And a lot of people have said this is Castaneda. But the voice, you, as they like to be called, said we have nothing to do with him. Leave him alone. He's not on our level. And could it have been anyone? It's so phenomenal. Like I said, any random phone that I walked by, they knew what I was thinking. They could make things reappear and disappear. They were outside of time. So they saw 2 weeks before that Andrea, the blue one, would be turning the corner, and he just forgot where he parked his car. He was just wandering the streets. So it's just that kind of unusual. And so in this graphic novel, Federico said, this is where I'm safe to tell this story. And he does talk about, and in this particular frame, I took such homage to it because he tells me, I believe perhaps thanks to you, that you will tell this story. And here we are today, telling this story. And for me, this is what's the most important, to find people who can hear the story, have some kind of resemblance or familiarity that there is something more than what meets the eye, that there are dimensions, that there are actually beings. Now, if they come from the water, from the sky, interdimensional, that's all probable because, in a way, we are just understanding our own scientificness of third dimension, fourth dimension, time, and so forth. Macro waves, microwaves. You know, we are discovering there's so many more allies that we have. And let's see, the next one is oh, it's not coming up, but it shows here. So I don't know why. Oh, here, no, there, okay. So this was something that we wanted to do. I thought, well, why not bring Castaneda involved in a film? Because if anything, many people have read his books and they know he was tapping onto something. And I've met people who knew him personally and they said, well, you know, he actually took the idea from someone else. He kind of hijacked it from a shaman, the story. I don't know how he got his ideas, but many people read his books and his books were definitely transformational. They definitely opened an eye. And that is why when Federico did his last film, his actual film, La Voce della Luna, The Voice of the Moon, this is where he allowed me to play a part in it as this American journalist trying to find the truth. And how lovely is that we had this opportunity to work, and I took this film throughout. Now, of course, there's something about Yucatan, there's something about the Mayan culture. I definitely feel that that is a hub of a place where the Mayan calendar, that there's just something about that area that is the Mexican deserts. For some reason, deserts are a great hub for connection, alien spaceships, or even dimensional beings to traverse, because it somehow has that energetic field from White Sands on. And so I kept returning back to the Yucatan on my own to meet the priestess, the priest during the 2012 and the December, just to continue to meet people, to come from my own perspective of what the Westerners can bring, what we can learn from them. So that was a great honor. And here in this last slide, this is when Federico passed away. I felt, and this, by the way, the sculptor of this, which is at his tomb, the artist's name is Pomodoro, and it is the bow of a ship, you know, where the ship, the proa. And this is, for me, very symbolic, like the proa of the ship breaks the waters. And that's who Federico was. He was a breaker of anything creative, emotional, spiritual. And somehow this energy, these voices, chose him to tell their story. I think they understood from their observing us for centuries that it would take very creative, very artistic people. And he would probably be the best one that would be able to tell this story without people judging it, because he could do surrealism. So I felt that, you know, here we are today. Can a film any one of our stories? Because right now, in this afternoon, Camille's story and everyone else and Lisa's, I'm just thinking we are all bringing our stories together to really tap into something, because it's not just one story. I'm a piece of a puzzle like all of our pieces. And oh my God, what would we do without Dan and Paul and also Stephen, as well as Earl, having been our forefathers to stick and bring us together. So we have this platform because thanks to them and thanks to our multiple groups of experience. And let's see, okay, it's not showing anymore. There was a few more slides, but I'll just go on to say that, you know, what does this mean? You know, I did really kind of go back. I mean, I can go on, tell you my childhood, very esoteric. I definitely had visitation very young. In my many phone calls with the voice, I never spoke. I just listened because they gave me commands. At one time they said, you can ask a question. I was like, oh my God, I didn't expect it. Because to get a phone call, I would start trembling, shaking, dripping sweat. I mean, I felt like something was being sucked out of me. It was not a random listening to this call. It was very, very physical. And I thought, oh my God, Jesus Christ, is there reincarnation? And they said, absolutely. You've reincarnated many times. You're actually one of us who've come here to do this work. So whatever dimension that they came, and we're talking ancient, because all of us here, all our DNA is ancient. None of us could have missed one link of our ancestors. we wouldn't be here today. So we are all on a DNA thread to bring us to the next generation. That's why our future is so very important. And people say, well, aren't you getting the phone calls anymore? You know, I really think that since we've got cell phones and all these towers, I really feel it's kind of broken a frequency. I think what we had originally was much easier to receive a call than today with the, because if you could imagine, you could see our cell phone towers and those waves, which is a frequency and a dimension all on its own, you would see how just even holding the cell phone to your ear, you know, there's the waves. It's all bad for us. I mean, that kind of stuff. There are better ways to receive confirmation, communications and so forth. So I'm very hopeful for the future for people like us, which are the original people to remind us, because I do believe government will like to keep us kind of numb and not believe. So we do have all of those entities, and my particular story pulled in great directors, great artists, great phenomena. For some reason, they stayed with me all these years. And truly, when cell phones came in, I stopped receiving the calls. But because I believe that I received so much downloading information, that is why I feel like I can be up here and include. And I did see a spaceship. Was rendered unconscious. I did feel probing. Was I on board a spaceship? Maybe, Yvonne, we can take a journey, because there was so much that overwhelmed me and was frightening, truly frightening. But I felt like I was chosen because there was enough braveness in myself to get up and say, I don't care if you say I'm strange or unusual, there is a story to tell. And the story is really starting right here. We are the story. So I hope this is a opportunity. I don't want to overextend my time with all our technicalities, but I just wanted to take this time and also to remember, you know, what can we do? We can definitely be part of this, and also pay attention to our mechanical devices, to maybe take that time to meditate, or, you know, be in alliance, do therapy or hypnosis. I really think that's going to unlock a lot of stories. But I wanted just to take this time. I wanted to thank you. There's so much to say. There is a film on YouTube, Towards the Moon with Fellini. It's there. It's subtitled. It's just a lovely memory of me to not just keep it in the past, but keep it in the future. And I'm just so excited because so far, like when Camille said those four beings that you had, that's what they were doing to me all the time. I would see in this frozen state, four beings, as you drew, looking down at me and pushing on me, and I'm like, okay, don't be afraid. And they would tell me, don't be afraid. So I felt that going on. I don't feel any particular marks, but I have a permanent ringing in my ear. I just deducted it to tinnitus, but that's when it started. I felt that there was some kind of maybe an implant because I could not touch my ears. That was something very traumatic for me. But here we are. We are definitely listening to each other. So I wanted to take that opportunity and thank you all. The story goes on and on. It's not just one time or two times, 100 times. And that's why I had to put it in a book, because it would take hours for me to explain all the magical entities and experiences that we've had. So I hope, hopefully, we stay together. And then I think we're taking a break, and then after I'll introduce.
Does people need a potty break?
Yes.
How about a 10-minute potty break, okay?
Perfect.
And Mitch?
I should put it, set up my